Let's get a read, though, on some of the top macro and market themes he's watching, as well as commodities. Pete McGuire from XM joins us here in the studio. Peter, always a pleasure to have you on the show. We were just saying off air what a huge few weeks we have ahead of us, or really a couple of months.
Yeah.
And I guess the question here is, we've got RBA and budget here at home. Overseas, we've got the US election, which is a big one.
Sure.
How much will this drive volatility over the coming months?
I think it'll very much so, Ingrid, and good morning. I think first off that everyone needs to understand that US dollar has been incredible to the upside over the last month. We've seen a 3% rally and the euro's got squeezed. So I think that that's where the smart money's been, that really dollar push. We've seen the sell-off as far as gold, crude as well, but really that's where all the energy's been, and traders have been absolutely lapping it up. It's been incredible.
Why are we seeing this rise in the US dollar? And I guess going forward, do you expect it to pull back again?
I think a couple of things. First off, Eurozone heading into deflationary in August, and September looks like it's going to continue. So that's not a good sign. Secondly, you've got those COVID numbers, larger numbers now than what we experienced in April or May in Eurozone. So that really creates a whole heap of pain moving forward heading into Christmas and that winter. Thirdly, you've got that US dollar was massively sold off. We understand what's happened as far as stimulus packages and so on, and the uncertainty with an election, flight to safety as far as US dollar. It got hit to the downside, and we've seen a very, very strong recovery.
Okay, so let's talk how this is playing out for commodities first, because we've got a bunch of commodities to watch. Oil, obviously, a demand story. We've got COVID cases picking up in the across the United States and in Europe.
Yep.
What's this playing out? How's this playing out for oil?
Oil's still at that $40. It's nothing really dramatic has happened. It's $40 to $45 handle on Brent and WTI. There's nothing there to really shift it higher. So it hasn't been a smart money trade.
There's nothing really moving it lower either. What's this trading in this range bound?
Well, it's stuck in a range. There doesn't seem to be any great stimulus out there to push it higher or necessarily lower. So until we actually see something move it, and that's got to be either Mother Nature as far as hurricanes. You've also got to look at what's going on from a demand picture or those geopolitical sensitivities. If Trump is re-elected, that could really be I think a downward pressure for crude. The US will really ratchet up as far as production, and what happens as far as the COVID numbers hitting UK and Europe.
That is key, and obviously that will impact all commodities. I mean, we were watching copper, gold, another one, which is obviously in focus.
Well, that's been flatlined because that US dollar, as I mentioned, had that really strong move to the upside. So gold got a hit. It's fallen $125. So there's really been nothing there to drive it higher other than that US dollar taking all the glory. That's been the glory trail.
Yeah, and that is, as you say, a US dollar story when it comes to gold at the moment. But certainly you'd imagine, I mean, we talk about tailwinds for gold. It has a lot of tailwinds behind it over the coming years. Yeah. Do you expect the downside to be short-lived?
I think so, and I'm not sure where this US dollar plays. It just got so heavily hit to the downside from 103 to 91 over that 5-month window from the end of March till really middle of August. Since then, it's bounced very strongly to the upside. It was oversold, and it could be a little bit exhausted to the upside. But those numbers now, as far as deflationary in Europe and the COVID numbers, are really scaring the hell out of the market.
Yeah, you said in your note, perfect storm of bad news throwing the markets into disarray. And you watch what payrolls this week and some of the jobs numbers.
Absolutely.
That's make or break, right? Make
or break, but we had 1.4 million in August. 875 is the tip for this Friday. We'll get those better ADP numbers as a bit of a binocular view on Wednesday. And we've got the most important thing, which is the debate tomorrow night.
Just about.
So really what happens there, that's the market really looking as far as, is Biden the new leader? Is he able to take on Trump and really hold that discussion and be able to present his story effectively and efficiently to the viewer?
Have we seen Biden and Trump face off before?
Not really, no.
They've traded barbs, but not together.
Not like this, nothing.
So this will be key. Do you think this shifts the voters' psyche? I mean, how much of an impact does this have on the American election?
We've got 3 debates. Tomorrow, I think, really is Judgment Day. That is where Trump either makes his break and catches up, or Biden just gallops ahead. And this is where it all depends on how they're interpreted from the viewer. And we know that Trump is, one thing about him, I think he uses a lot of very simplistic tools and reinforces a storyline as far as to the voter. And that's really what he did with Hillary. That's what he's done with Jeb Bush, and he's done that across the whole platform. It
certainly will be interesting. I think everyone will be watching. But in terms of how that impacts markets, bring it home for us, Peter. How does this impact markets?
If Trump has a good day, and I think that's going to be a stimulus to really push the... First off, I think the US dollar will come up a little bit further, and I think you're going to see a push up as far as equities. The market will work on how effective Trump is. We understand where Biden is. He's going to be negative business. Trump is pro-business. And that's all. You've got the other side, of course, which is what happens as far as the new elected Supreme Court Justice taking over from Ginsburg. So that's going to be a very interesting part, how that plays out over the next matter of a week.
That is quite political, and you've got a lot of uproar, I guess, about this, no doubt, from people who aren't Trump supporters. I mean, it's a very political thing.
Trump says he won't leave peacefully. So if he doesn't leave peacefully, then it goes to the Supreme Court, and at the moment it's gridlocked, 4-4 out of 8 justices.
Yeah.
So this new justice coming in is going to swing the tide, and it's going to be a 5-4 play. So that's the issue at hand.
It's also that as well, he's been talking about the fact that he'll be counting votes for years to come in terms of the mail-in ballots. What kind of impact does it have? And I'm trying to look for a market perspective here. If Trump was, say, to lose the election, but then, called in to disrepute how the election was dealt with, credibility of the election.
This is unheard
what sort
of.
of impact is it is unheard of, but it will happen if Trump doesn't get in, I'm sure.
Oh,
he's already putting it out there now.
Yeah.
So what sort of impact does that have on markets? Does it bring a sense of instability to markets?
Absolutely. Volatility, and we're in a COVID year.
Yeah.
Do we see that ratchet back up? We're already seeing it in Europe. Does it return in the winter in US? And again, the fabric of all of that washing over markets creates one word, and that's volatility.
Yep.
These are uncharted waters.
Yep.
No one knows. We could see the Dow dump 20%. You could see it rise 10%. Who knows what the impact's going to be?
Well, you'll be here to take us through all of it
I'm looking
week by
forward
week,
to it.
Peter.
Strap yourself in, Ingrid.
Strap in, exactly. Thanks for joining us on the show, as always, Pete.
Lovely to see you.
From XM, joining us live here in the studio at Brain Guru.